धन की जय, वृंदावन धाम की जय,
जय
नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय,
जय
गंगा माई की जय,
जय
जमुना माई की जय,
जय
देवी की जय,
जय
भक्ति देवी की जय,
जय
समवेता भक्त वृंद की जय,
जय
गौर प्रेम आनंदे.
हरि हरि बोल।
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna
All glory to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga Hari Hari Bol. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirbhishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
We are reading, studying, discussing Sri Caitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila. This is chapter 1. The later pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we're in a summary of, we're on tour with Lord Chaitanya, a summary of his tour of South India and later pastimes. That's why we chanted the Krishna, 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 Hey prayer, because that's what he chanted also along the way as he was traveling. And here we are at text 114. Hare Krishna.
তত্ত্ববাদী সহ কইল তত্ত্বের বিচার আপনাকে হীন বুদ্ধি হইল তা সবার
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also had a discussion with the Tattvavadi community. And the Tattvavadis felt themselves to be inferior Vaishnavas. Purport. The Tattvavadi sect belongs to Madhvacharya's Vaishnav community, but its behavior differs from the strict Madhvacharya Vaishnav principles. There is one monastery named Uttaradhi, and one of its commanders was named Raghuvarya Tirtha Madhvacharya. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Nama Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtang Stapitang Jena Bhutale Shayam Rupakata Mahyam Dadati Shapandantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. For speaking, I'm requesting permission and blessings from devotees, particularly those who are senior by age and or advancement in Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. This purport, just a brief comment. So there are 4 recognized, authorized schools or sampradayas, ramparas, in the teaching the eternal dharma, Vaishnav dharma, Sat dharma. And one of them is the Brahma Madhva Sampradaya, of which The Gaudiya Sampradaya is one branch. So here, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his tour of South India met Vaishnavas that were following the path of Madhvacharya, although they may not have been familiar with Lord Chaitanya's teachings or his recognizing his or understanding him. And it's interesting that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says that those Tattvavadis, as they were called, they thought themselves or felt themselves to be inferior Vaishnavas. Now you might wonder, how is it that Krishnadas Kaviraj knows that they're feeling themselves inferior? Isn't that a kind of an internal process? You follow the question? So
Yes.
go ahead, Prananath Prabhu. You were going to say something.
No, you follow the question, so I said yes.
Oh, okay. So what do you think the answer might be? Well, so Lord Chaitanya in his tour, he was aware of what people were doing as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the super soul in everyone's heart. And he related this information, his experiences, his travels, his teachings to Swarup Damodar Goswami, who related to Raghunath Das Goswami, who related it to Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. So that's how we know that's correct. Another point is there's a little bit of a controversy about the Madhva Sampradaya, because in the Madhva Sampradaya, some say that the spiritual master of Madhvacharya was Achyuta Preksha. In the Gaudiya Sampradaya, we recognize Madhvacharya's guru as being, you know who? Anybody?
Vyasadeva?
Yeah, Vyasadeva. Part of the reason is because Madhvacharya took the trouble to travel to Badarik Ashram on 2 occasions to consult and to get teachings and instruction from Vyasadeva, the author of the Vedas. Whereas in the Madhvacharya Sampradaya, they accept Achyuta Preksha, who was his initial teacher, at least on it seems. And some people say that Achyuta Preksha was an impersonalist. So then you might ask, if we follow the tradition of disciplic succession, one has to receive teachings from the authority, spiritual master, enlightened spiritual master. How can there be bona fide teachings in that line if Madhvacharya's spiritual master was an impersonalist? You follow? And even Prananath Prabhu, our friend here, Prananath Prabhu, I asked him to go when he went to India to check, because his town and associates in his early life and his family were all followers of the Madhva Sampradaya. So what do they say about Achyuta Preksha? So Prananath, please tell us. Are you there? Or maybe busy?
Yes, Prabhu. I'm here. No, I couldn't find a right answer other than what Purna Pragna Prabhu mentioned in that book, Life of Madhvacharya, and then what you mentioned the other day.
Yeah. So some people still, even in today, in the Madhva Sampradaya, they consider Achyuta Preksha an impersonalist, but there are articles that were written by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur in the Gaudiya magazine, when the Gaudiya Mutt was printing 5 or 6, I forget, 6, I think, weekly newspapers and magazines on Krishna consciousness. And in one of them, the history of the 4 Vaishnava Sampradayas and details about them are elaborately explained by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And there he describes how at the time of the, just before Madhvacharya, in the area where he was living, near Udupi on the west coast of India, southern India, then the impersonalists were so strong that they would, if there was an opposing philosophy, sometimes they would go and burn down the houses of those people who were preaching that philosophy, or beating them up. So it's not just in the West those things happen, between the Muslims and the Christians or the Jews, etc. But anyway, we don't hear that they were killed, but at least there was some bullying going on against other philosophies other than the Mayavad philosophy. So in his article, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur describes how even though he appeared to be following the Mayavad principles, actually inside and in his teachings with his disciples, he was an unquestionable Vaishnava. So that's the answer. That interesting point. But anyway, so in Krishna consciousness, we see that there's higher, inferior, and superior Vaishnavas. On one side, we say, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavi Hastini Shuni Chaiva Swapakecha Pandita Samadarshana. In a learned sage, by virtue of spiritual vision, sees equally, what is that? A learned sage, Brahmin, elephant, dog, and dog eater. So in one sense, there's an equal vision because everyone is spirit soul. But on another level, there's grades of spiritual advancement, development. So there's the Kanishta Adhikari, Madhyam Adhikari, and Uttama Adhikari. Uttama Adhikari means that Vaishnava or devotee who has full realization of Lord Krishna and is on the highest platform of understanding and love of God. Madhyam Adhikari is learned in the scriptures, but may not have all full realization. Kanishta Adhikari means someone who offers pretty much rudimentary service, but doesn't recognize or appreciate always those who are superior or more advanced in Krishna consciousness. So here we see that the Tattvavadi Vaishnavas were considering themselves on the lower class, compared, of course, to Lord Caitanya, the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the form of a devotee. Any questions or comments on this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, this is Krishna Kirtan Prabhu. Okay.
Thank you. It's I know you put in a situation. It's very difficult now to think, but I was trying to bring this point that in many sampradaya acharyas, we can see that acharyas not directly came to Vaishnava sampradaya, so they will have different identities. And Ramanujacharya was also, as far as I understand, he was initially a spiritual master Veda Prakash, someone is impersonal, Sankaracharya. And similarly, in that aspect, we may see that Madhvacharya also had a previous teacher. So point is, yeah, they may have previous teachers and they may have their teaching, but point is Madhvacharya's presentation of he's belonged to Brahma Sampradaya, and is Suddha Madhvacharya is what did he present? Is Suddha Dvaitavada he presented. So
Dvaita Vadya. Just Dvaita. Shuddha Dvaita was another one here. Okay.
Okay. I thought Dvaitavada is Nimbarka Swami. Okay, so he presented this philosophy, and we call his followers as Tattvavadis. Is the current the parampara which he has they are called Tattvavadis, I believe, right? And they must be
Yes.
from a Vaishnava Sampradaya. Then how can we connect with impersonalism or Sankaracharya?
I don't understand the question.
What I see is as like three identities now for Madhvacharya. I feel like first he said that he is coming from impersonal teachers. First teacher is impersonal teacher. Then he comes from Vyasdev. Except Vyasdev is teacher, and he provides the Daityavada, Suddha Daityavada. And then third is we accept Madhvacharya as our Acharya also. So is somewhere is getting mixed his identity? If his teachings are Suddha Daityavada, whatever it is, as a Vaishnava philosophy, and how his teachers, the current students, are impersonalists.
No, the Tattvavadis aren't impersonalists. No. Tattvavadis are Vaishnavas. See, as it says, they felt themselves to be inferior Vaishnavas. So they're Vaishnavas. My understanding is that the difference, there is some difference, and that difference is that in the Tattvavadi community, Vaishnav community, there's more emphasis on following the Varnashram Dharma rules and regulations without the emphasis or appreciation of love of God. Prema Pramarto Mahan. So ordinarily, in the traditional Vedic fold, there are four goals of life: dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. But beyond that, Caitanya Mahaprabhu said, prema pumarto mahan, or panchama purushartha. The real goal of all those, after doing all those things, the actual goal of life is to develop Krishna prema. So in the Tattvavadi community, that understanding is less, if that makes sense. And therefore, we see in Caitanya Charitamrita, when Madhavendra Puri begins his teaching, there's in that line of disciplic succession, because he's in the line of disciplic succession from Madhvacharya, he is the first one who manifests the understanding and the appreciation of that love of God in his prayers to Lord Krishna. Let's see, what is that prayer? Ai dina dayadra nata he matura nata katava lokshashe. Oh, I am fallen, dina dayadra nata he. But what will I do now? Not seeing you, my heart has become unsteady. What shall I do now? So that is described as the seed of love of God and separation, which is Lord Caitanya fully blossomed in his teachings given to the six Goswamis who elaborated on them very fully. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Krishna Kirtan Prabhu?
Yeah, that makes sense. So either the followers of Madhvacharya has deteriorated if not deviated from the teachings of the teacher. That's what we are here also hearing, or no?
Yeah, it says here, but its behavior differs from the strict Madhvacharya Vaishnava principles.
Okay.
So there's they got off a little bit on a tangent. I mean, they're very strict Vaishnavas. There's no question about that. But the emphasis on, like in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, of hearing and chanting the holy names of the Lord, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, and the emphasis on developing love of God as described by Lord Chaitanya may not be there. So we still recognize the Madhvacharya Sampradaya as wonderful, although it may not have that same emphasis. So it's a matter of emphasis as opposed to actual teaching.
Yeah. I think Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also had initial sannyas guru.
Ishvara Puri was a disciple of Madhavendra Puri, yeah.
No, I was
Oh,
referring
you mean Keshava Bharati?
Kesava Bharati. And I think Ballavacharya also had a different spiritual master before he got initiated to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him to, was it Govind? No, not Govind.
Gadadhar Pandit, one of his disciples.
Right. So before Gadadhar Pandit, he must be a different guru. I'm assuming that's why he compiled the Srimad Bhagavatam, isn't it?
Well, yeah, Vallabhacharya, the Pushti Marg, is a little complex. So there's a bunch of stuff. Initially, Srila Prabhupada said initially he was very respectful for Lord Chaitanya, but later he didn't think he would get such respect from Lord Chaitanya, so he developed his own sampradaya, his own school. That's an interesting point. So, but then later after that, as you mentioned, he met Lord Chaitanya and followed Gadadhar Pandit's disciple, took initiation. So it's a little complex with him. But anyway, even in our sampradaya, the Gaudiya Sampradaya, there's initiation links and there's instruction links. And in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, the link between spiritual master and disciple is not always emphasized via initiation or diksha. More emphasis is given on shiksha or instruction. So the same thing, so for example, Madhvacharya got instruction from Ved Vyas. So we give emphasis to that aspect more than his diksha, apparent diksha from Achyuta Preksha. Bhaktivinoda Thakur received initiation from a person named Bipin Bihari Goswami, but in our line of disciplic succession shown by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, we see that Bhaktivinoda Thakur's, the previous acharya is, you know who?
Yeah, I don't remember. I forgot.
Jagannath Das Babaji.
Ajit?
Jagannath Das Babaji, Vaishnava Sarvabhauma. Yeah, so he didn't take initiation from Jagannath Das Babaji, but he was certainly associated and took instruction from him elaborately. He visited Vrindavan and etc., where Jagannath Das Babaji initially was. So there's a great association, instruction given, but initiation wasn't the prime aspect of the disciplic succession. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Who is actually initiated from? I forgot the name. Did you mention that?
Yeah, Bipin Bihari Goswami.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yes, so it's interesting to stress. You're stressing on that our parampara is not just based on the initiation, based on siksha, especially in our acharyas. But I don't know what your future is. It that is going to be as a example education for the society?
Well, we'll have to see. I can't look into the future, but I mean, one of the aspects of ISKCON that is important and unifying is that even though there are many different gurus within ISKCON, initiating gurus, the idea is they all accept Srila Prabhupada as the preeminent Siksha Guru for all ISKCON devotees. Just like in the Sri or Lakshmi Sampradaya, they all take as the preeminent guru Ramanujacharya, even though he was, more than 1,000 years ago. So that will always be there, but it doesn't mean that shouldn't take initiation. No one has to take initiation, but the shiksha link is very, very important. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Maybe some detail here. All right. Thank you, Krishna Kirtan, for your question. Next one.
অনন্ত পুরুষোত্তম শ্রী জনার্দন পদ্মনাভ বাসুদেব কৈল দর্শন.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then visited the Vishnu temples of Anantadev, Purushottam, Sri Janardhan, Padmanabha, and Vasudev. Purport. A temple of Ananta Padmanabha Vishnu is situated in the Trivandrum district, Tiruvananthapuram. This temple is very famous in those quarters. Another Vishnu temple named Sri Janardhan is situated about 26 miles north of the Trivandrum district, near the railway station called Varkala. These details about the places Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu traveled to by foot are often elaborated by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in his commentary, because he followed in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya, visiting many of these places in South India that Lord Chaitanya passed through or visited. And in many of them, he established small temples with Lord Chaitanya's footprints there. Next verse.
তবে প্রভু কৈল সপ্ততাল বিমোচন সেতু বন্ধে স্নান রামেশ্বর দর্শন.
After that, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu delivered the celebrated Saptatal trees, took his bath at Setubandha Rameshwar, and visited the temple of Lord Shiva, known as Rameshwara. Purport. It is said that the Saptatal trees were very old, massive palm trees. There was once a fight between Vali and his brother Sugriva, and Lord Ramchandra took the side of Sugriva and killed Vali, keeping himself behind one of these celebrated trees. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu toured South India, he embraced the trees, which were delivered and directly promoted to Vaikuntha. So, so those palm trees must have been very old if they were there during the time of Lord Ramchandra. In Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada describes how Lord Ramchandra appeared in the Raghu dynasty, which descended from the sun god. And in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, we know it says, Imam vivasvate yogam proktavan aham avyayan vivasvan manave praha manur ikshvakave pravit. That the science of yoga was first taught to the sun god Vivasvan. Vivasvan instructed it to Vaivasvata Manu, and Manu, in his turn, instructed to Ikshaku, who was here on the Earth planet. So Ikshvaku was one of the kings, or the first king on the Earth planet in the Surya Vams, the dynasty of the sun. And Prabhupada mentions in the purport that Lord Ramchandra's appearance was about 2 million years ago. About. It means in this Chatur Yuga. So those palm trees must have been very old, it seems. And there was that there was a disagreement between Sugriva and Vali. There were two monkey chieftains, or somewhat monkey-like, although they had advanced intelligence. They were smart. There's still some evidence of beings like Sasquatch and Yeti, like that. But the cause of the fight between Sugriva and Vali?
Yeah, I think there was a confusion when Bali was fighting with one of the opponents. I don't know who is demon, what it is. That's where everything, the whole misunderstanding began. That Sugriva thought Bali was already dead, and to save himself and the citizens, he covered the cave. That's what I know.
That's what they say, yeah. So there was a demon in their capital was Kishkinda, wasn't it? Kishkinda?
Yeah.
And Vali was the older brother. So he went to fight a demon, and then he went into a cave. The fight happened in the cave, and then there was some sound. It sounded like it sounded like Vali had been killed, although it was actually the demon. So those demons knew how to imitate voices pretty well. So anyway, Sugriva, thinking that his brother had been killed by the demon, decided, well, he rolled a huge rock in front of the cave and then went back to his kingdom and took over the kingdom because he was the younger brother. But then actually Vali had been victorious, and it was the demon had imitated him. So then after some time he came, after licking his wounds, and he saw his brother on the throne. So he kicked him out and married his wife. Took Sugriva's wife, kicked him out. So Lord Ramchandra, at least in that level, could relate with the plight of Sugriva, having his wife kidnapped at that time or his Maya Sita kidnapped by Ravana. So they made a pact. Sugriva said he would help if Ramchandra would help him regain his wife, then he would help him find Sita with not just him, but his whole army of monkeys. So that's what happened. Lord Ramchandra, behind one of these palm trees, during the fight between Sugriva and Vali, killed Vali with his arrow. And but he didn't die immediately. When Lord Ramchandra went to the dying Vali, Vali was very angry. He said, "What did you do this for? How can you be considered a Kshatriya? You should have, if you wanted to fight with me, why fight with me out in the open? Not from behind a tree. What kind of chivalry or Kshatriya code are you following?" So you know what Lord Ramchandra responded to? How he responded?
Taking someone's wife.
Yeah. He said, I am the servant of Bharat, who's the king of this whole land. And if someone is a criminal, you don't have to have a fair fight with a criminal. You follow? Somebody's a criminal. The police, they don't, when they arrest them, they don't have to make sure that we're going to have equal force, have a duel. No, they arrest them with all important force. So that's what Lord Ramchandra did, spoke to Vali. Still, Vali cursed Lord Ramchandra. Anyway, that was Lord Chaitanya. And another point here in this verse is that he took his bath at Setubandha Rameshwara. Setubandha. What is that, Setubandha? You know?
The bridge they were built there.
Yeah, what is that bridge? What is that bridge?
That's the bridge that they crossed to go to Lanka.
Across the, yeah.
Yeah, there's a bridge. There's a in the in maps they call it now Adams Bridge, but there's a rock formation that goes from this place in the very southern part of India across to Sri Lanka.
Yeah, so from Sri Lanka, yeah.
To the coast of India,
Southern
southern India. And that's where the temple of Rameshwaram is. So, how long is that bridge? It's about 20 miles. 20 miles. So some people argue, well, in the Ramayana, the bridge that the monkeys were assisting with Ramchandra built across the ocean where the rocks were floating at that time, it said it was 100 yojanas long. How big is a yojana? About 8 miles. There are different kinds of yojanas, but usually it's 8 miles. So here's 800 miles, and here it's only 20 some miles. So this can't. Some people say it can't be the real Sri Lanka. It's not the real Lanka. What do you think?
Yeah, I studied on that as well. So basically, for many authors,
You're breaking up. You're breaking up.
For several authors, they say that it's the Lanka, current Lanka we are referring, that's not the Lanka. They're asking some other place. Is Maldives or somewhere like that. They're referring to another.
Where's the authority?
I forgot. I think someone from ISKCON itself has presented that.
Yeah, there's a devotee named Shyam Sundar who's an astrologer, he says.
Yeah.
Anyway, his point is a couple things. One is that this 800 mile, 100 yojanas is 800 miles. So this isn't 800 miles, it's 20 miles. And another point is there's some evidence from a book called the Surya Siddhanta. In the very ancient days of the Vedas, the prime meridian used to go through Ujjain. Like where's the prime meridian now? How there's latitude and longitude on the earth. So zero longitude is Greenwich, England. That's the center of everything. It starts zero, right? So at that time, during the time of the Vedic civilization, in that part of the world, the prime meridian was Ujjain. And so there's a statement that the abode of the demon was along the prime meridian, which means Ujjain. That's the longitude, and the latitude was at the equator. You follow? Latitude, longitude. And so that's somewhere in the middle of the ocean below India. Has nothing to do with Sri Lanka. Of course, in that reference, there's no mention of Ravana or what demon that is. So anyway, it's not very conclusive. Then another piece of evidence is in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, different islands are mentioned that around Jambu Dweep. and Lanka is mentioned, and also an island called Singhala is mentioned. Singhala.
Sihala.
Now, Singhala is the old name for Sri Lanka, at least in Kali Yuga. Well, these are the pieces of evidence. So if Singhala is there, Lanka is different than Singhala. These are the evidence they give. So the counter argument is this, that Singhala, that name was given to that island that we now call Sri Lanka only about 300 BC, when a king named Singh decided to leave his kingdom, some say it's in Bengal, and domiciled on the island and became famous down there. And so he renamed it Singhala, but that's, even though it's the ancient name, it's not that ancient. It's not as ancient as the Vedas. It's not as ancient as the Srimad Bhagavatam. You follow? Yeah. So that's, and then the other argument is that, well, over time, the earth and the mountains and things, they adjust. Just like Govardhan used to be a gigantic hill, but now it's very small. It's not very tall at all. So things change over time on the Earth's surface, and that you can't use that as a definitive, conclusive evidence. But I think the strongest evidence that Sri Lanka is the actual place where Lord Ramachandra traveled to rescue Sita is here, that Lord Chaitanya is bathing there in remembering the activities of Lord Ramchandra. Why would, if it's a bogus place, that's not really Sri Lanka, why would Lord Chaitanya bathe there?
And that's true.
And not only Lord Chaitanya, when Lord Balaram traveled to South India during the Kurukshetra war, he also bathed in Setubandha Rameshwar. So he recognized that it's a holy place, and so therefore he bathed there. And how would it be holy unless Lord Ramchandra was actually, it was important to the activities of Lord Ramchandra himself. Does that make sense? Because we in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, we take, you could assign any place to be a holy place, it's all in your mind. Or is it really important, the actual location of holy places? For example, prior to the research and statements of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, people in general thought that the current town of Navadvip was the Navadvip of Lord Chaitanya. But Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, by illuminating passages from the biographies of Lord Chaitanya that were there at the time of his life and shortly thereafter, and using old maps and other things, he determined that the actual birth site of Lord Chaitanya is not the current town of Navadvip, which used to be called Kuliagram, but it's across the other side of the Ganges, where it is now Mayapur. So it was very great. I mean, you could, if it doesn't matter, well, that Navadvip is fine. But he wanted to ascertain the actual birth site where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared and had his activities, and that was determined by him to be on the other side of the Ganges, where we see it's now the Yoga Pit at Mayapur. That's very important, not just in the mind. Does that make sense? Questions, comments? Okay.
তাহাই করিল কুর্ম পুরাণ শ্রবণ মায়া সীতা নিলেখ রাবণ তাহাতে লিখন.
At Rameshwara, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had a chance to read the Kurma Purana, in which he discovered that the form of Sita kidnapped by Ravana was not the real Sita, but a mere shadow representation. Purport. The Kurma Purana states that this shadowy Sita was placed into a fire as a test of chastity. It was Maya Sita who entered the fire, and the real Sita who came out of the fire. So that was afterwards, after Sita was rescued by Lord Ramchandra, there was some question about her chastity because she had been living for almost one full year under the control of Ravana. So there was a question whether she was really chaste. So this test was given. If she could enter fire, you can imagine that? Enter fire. If she's chaste, then she won't be injured. So this Maya Sita went into the fire, and Agni Dev, the Lord of Fire, brought out the real Sita. She had been protected by him. This is described in this Kurma Purana. Yes.
শুনিয়া প্রভুর আনন্দিত হইল মন, রামদাস বিপ্রের কথা হইল স্মরণ।
Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was very glad to read about the false Sita, and he remembered his meeting with Ramdas Vipra, who was very sorry that Mother Sita had been kidnapped by Ravana. This is very interesting because we'll read later, this is described in detail later in the Madhya Lila, but Lord Chaitanya told Ramdas Vipra, who was lamenting, oh, how is it that Mother Sita has been kidnapped by Ravana? Lord Chaitanya informed Ramdas Vipra that that wasn't the real Sita, but that he was only slightly pacified. But now that he's bringing the actual shastric evidence to show that what he said previously was true, that actually convinced him. So that's the Vedic system. In order to really support what you're saying, there has to be Vedic evidence. Even here, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very glad that he's able to provide shastric evidence for what he already said. Very interesting.
সেই পুরাতন পত্র আগ্রহ করি নিল, রামদাসে দেখাইয়া দুঃখ খণ্ডাইল।
Indeed, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu eagerly tore this page from the Kurma Purana, although the book was very old, and he later showed it to Ramdas Vipra, whose unhappiness was mitigated.
ব্রহ্ম সংহিতা কর্ণামৃত দুই পুঁথি পায়া, দুই পুস্তক লয়া আইলা উত্তম জানিয়া।
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also found two other books, namely the Brahma Samhita and Krishna Caritamrita. Knowing these books to be excellent, he took them to present to his devotees. Purport. In the olden days, there were no presses, and all the important scriptures were handwritten and kept in large temples. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu found the Brahma Samhita and Krishna Caritamrita in handwritten texts, and knowing them to be very authoritative, he took them with him to present to his devotees. Of course, he obtained the permission of the temple commander. Now, both the Brahma Samhita and the Krishna Caritamrita are available in print with commentaries by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Very interesting here again, the importance of Vedic evidence. So we can learn from that when we speak, it's always best to cite Vedic evidence, shlokas, to back up what one is saying. It's not just something we can come up with an idea in our mind or manufacture something, but it'll be important if whatever we say in polite discussions and spiritual circles is backed up by Vedic evidence. So this Brahma Samhita means it's part of the Vedas or from the Vedic line, Samhita. But prior to Lord Chaitanya, the evidence, the understanding of Brahma Samhita had been practically lost. It wasn't just, Vedic, this, spiritual scriptures. There, in the history of India, you'll find in many of the sciences, like Ayurveda, Jyotirveda, architectural science, kings in various parts of India would make an effort to try to accumulate the different parts of those shastras, because over time they had been lost, parts of the Ayurveda. So they tried to compile them all together. Somebody was saying something? Yes?
I said, yes, Prabhu.
Okay. So, sometimes the written record wasn't there, and the knowledge was being passed down from teacher to disciple and wasn't necessarily written or wasn't often written. So to accumulate or compile the knowledge was an effort that was made quite often in different branches of knowledge. And Lord Chaitanya here was finding this Brahma Samhita and was very happy to find it and deliver it to the devotees. And in the beginning of the Hare Krishna movement, the chanting of the Brahma Samhita was very prominent. In fact, the first time Srila Prabhupada came to Brooklyn, Henry Street, when I was there, he spoke on the Brahma Samhita. And even though it's in Sanskrit, we're not Sanskrit scholars, but still, he emphasized hearing and reading and speaking, understanding the Brahma Samhita. And that's why in that recording made in London in 1969, one of the important recordings was, along with the Hare Krishna mantra, Govindam Adipurusham, because there was a great emphasis on this Brahma Samhita from the very beginning. That's all the conclusions of Vedic knowledge, particularly Krishna consciousness, are included in this 5th chapter of Brahma Samhita. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, Prabhupada quotes, that it can be used as the reciting of the Brahma Samhita can be done as a regular daily function. He says that in one of those introduction to his discussion of Brahma Samhita. So that may be why Srila Prabhupada emphasized introduced the Govindam prayers at the greeting of the deities in every temple. Regular daily function. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Comments, questions? Okay, next.
পুনরপি নীলাচলে গমন করিল, ভক্তগণে মেলিয়া স্নান যাত্রা দেখিল।
After collecting these books, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned to Jagannath Puri. At that time, the bathing ceremony of Jagannath was taking place, and he saw it.
অনবসরে জগন্নাথের না পায়া দর্শন, বিরহে আলালনাথ করিলা গমন।
When Jagannath was absent from the temple, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who could not see him, felt separation and left Jagannath Puri to go to a place known as Alalanath. Purport. Alalanath is also known as Brahmagiri. This place is about 14 miles from Jagannath Puri and is also on the beach. There is a temple of Jagannath there. the present moment, a police station and post office are situated there because so many people come to see the temple. The word anavasara is used when Sri Jagannath Ji cannot be seen in the temple. After the bathing ceremony, Snana Yatra, Lord Jagannath apparently becomes sick. He is therefore removed to his private apartment where no one can see him. Actually, during this period, renovations are made on the body of the Jagannath deity. This is called Navayovana. During the Ratha Yatra ceremony, Lord Jagannath once again comes before the public. Thus, for 15 days after the bathing ceremony, Lord Jagannath is not visible to any visitors. So someone may question, how is it that if Jagannath is God, how can he get sick? What do you say? He's God. How can he get sick? What do you think?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
I just think that he does Leela for us, and so that we care about him and think about him more. That's what I think.
Yes. God can do whatever he wants. If he wants to become sick, he can become sick. If he wants to have a headache, he can have a headache. But of course, his headache is not like our headache, or it's not or his sickness is not like our sickness. But when you're sick, some people, they like to get sick. Why? Because they get special care from their, parents or partners or family members and doctors, whatever, special care, more intimate care. Ordinarily, there might be many businesses going on, but when one's sick, then it's a little bit reclusive, and only the close people will care for one. So you're right. That's what happens. Lord Jagannath, he goes in seclusion in a private apartment, and his close pujaris, they do personal service, increase their personal service for him. Actually, those people are called, what are they called? Krishna Kirtan Prabhu, the ones that do the service during the time when he's
Isn't Daitapatis?
Dayapatis. Yeah. They're from a certain family background where they're actually low from a material standpoint, but because they're engaged in the service of Lord Jagannath, they've been elevated. Therefore, they've received daya, mercy.
It's interesting thing you're saying. Some people like to be sick.
Yeah, you never heard that before?
Well, I also used to like to be sick when I was
No
small.
kidding.
Because my mother used to give special treats and
Yes. So Lord Jagannath, he gets special attention, different kind of attention. I mean, he always gets attention, but a different kind of attention in at that time, in his private apartment like that. Otherwise, he's there on the altar every day. Now he has some privacy. It's nice. Yeah. Okay. I thank you so much for time today. We are still Lord Chaitanya now has returned from his two-year walking tour of South India. He's returned to Jagannath Puri, and in the future we'll see that he will make an attempt to go to Vrindavan, but come back and then actually go to Vrindavan. So all those things happen within this first 6 years of his after taking sannyas. So 2 years in his tour of South India, then his first attempt to go to Vrindavan, where he goes to Bengal, but then comes back, and then his actual trip to Vrindavan when he goes through the Jharkhand forest and visits many of the holy places there and encourages Rupa and Sanatana Goswami to renovate the holy places and build temples in Vrindavan to remember the pastimes of Lord Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you all.
Krishna.
Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripasinubhyeya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namaha.
Namo Namo. Hare Krishna.
Vishnugada Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.